Hi, welcome to my video for the art joy of sharing artists' favorite things hop for May of 2020. My favorite things, 1, steampunk, and 2, using recycled materials. So that's what I'm going to do for you today, and let's get started. So I am starting out with just a backer board from a pad of paper. It's just some pretty heavyweight chipboard, and I have some brown packing paper that I just scrunch all up real tight and then open it back up, and I'm going to just tear it into pieces that I can use to cover the chipboard and start on my background. So I like to tear it in pieces because it just adds more texture. And I'm going to put that down with some matte medium and dry it off. For the next layer, I'm going to start with this drywall tape, which I can't find the end of. And I'm just going to start by cutting a piece off, and then I will cut it into irregular shapes and add that to the background. I think it has a real industrial look. It's perfect for a steampunk background. And if you use it, don't smooth it like that because it poked my finger. You just have to press it in instead of smoothing it down. So I like to do things in threes, so I started with 3, and then I thought, oh, I need a couple more pieces of just thinner tape, so I just added a couple more. Now I have some Curad. It's a fabric medical tape, almost like a silk finish, probably a polyester, but I like it also just to create some background texture. So you can twist it and crunch it up and fold it over, and so it takes paint really, really well. So I put some of that down. And then I had pulled out a bunch of papers to audition to see what I wanted to use and what I didn't want to use. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just kind of laying them out and seeing how many of them I want or need, which ones I can get rid of, not use. And as usual, you know, I get them all laid out, and then you have to move them because other things have to go on before the papers do. And when they go on, when it's their turn to go on, they never end up in the spots that I choose for them to begin with. Now I have cut some squares and rectangles just out of an old Coke case that, you know, soda came in. It's the cardboard carton. And I'm just going to cover all of these pieces with black gesso. So I just apply it and then just kind of pounce up and down with my brush to get a lot of texture on the pieces, so that when I finish them to look like metal later on, the paint will pick up the texture that is created by the gesso. And I just finally got smart and picked up that pokey tool to hang on to it so that the pieces weren't moving on me. So you can see I have quite a few pieces covered, and I'll dry those off and they'll be ready for the next step. I have my glue gun heated up, and I'm going to put rivet-like beads of hot glue in each of the 4 corners of each of these cardboard pieces. And I started having trouble with my glue gun. That glue stick was not advancing no matter what I did. I finally ended up switching out the glue stick, and I had much better luck. So I don't know what was wrong with it, but I spent some time doing that, and I won't bore you with showing you all of them, but there you can see I have just like little dots of glue in the 4 corners. I think this is where I went to change out my glue stick. I don't think I'm fighting with this anymore. So those are all done and dry, and I have some Speedball Simple Leaf, which is great because you don't need adhesive and you don't need heat or anything to transfer this foil. All you need is a sticky surface. So I'm just pressing the Simple Leaf onto those dots of hot glue. And this is where you can really tell that I didn't get perfect dots of glue, because it's going to stick wherever the glue is. So if they're misshapen, that's what you're going to get. And I can clean them up with a brush later, and I didn't mind that. I mean, steampunk is meant to be grungy and look like old metal. So a lot of times old rivets are smashed and not perfect. So I was fine with it. So I just hit all of those with the Simple Leaf. And they won't stay this shiny. So now I have just an old scruffy brush, and I'm just brushing away any little pieces that aren't stuck to the glue. And that does help somewhat. You can see there they're flying off. It helps somewhat to make my shapes look a little bit better. Now I'm bringing the papers back in, bringing my board back in, and I thought, now I'm going to put the papers down. And it's like, no, I need to move these papers out because I want to paint the background of the substrate with some black gesso. So that's what I'm going to do here. Just plain black gesso. And I'm just going to spread it around with a brush and then dilute it and move it around here and there with a wet baby wipe. And I'm just playing with it until I get the background to the color that I want it to be. And I did glue the clock down because I wanted to incorporate it. It's the biggest embellishment or the biggest piece on this artboard, so I just wanted to make sure that it looked like it was incorporated into the background. So you can see there I just kind of went over it and grunched it up a bit and got the edges of the paper fully integrated into the background. And I'm just adding more gesso here and there to darken up spots and cover that tape. But you can see it's just the brown paper on the background really is like instant grunge. I really like using it for this kind of a piece. And I'm just spreading it around with the baby wipe a little bit. Now it's time for the papers. So I kind of laid out the papers where I think I wanted to put them, laid out those little cardboard metal, faux metal pieces. And I'm just going to go through and get all my papers put down. And I'm using heavy gel matte medium to glue everything down. It's just the cardboard squares were sort of heavy. I didn't really need it for the paper, but I just used it for everything. So there, all the pieces are glued down where I want them. Is it 3 layers, 2 layers? I don't know. I think it was 3 layers. I'm just going to add some staples just for some more industrial elements just up along the side there. You can see that I took my pinking shears and just cut 2 of those cardboard squares lengthwise in half and put those along the side there by the clock. And I'm just adding staples just there. Now I have some bronze colored acrylic paint, and I'm going to just dry brush with this old scruffy brush all over everything, just to start bringing the metal look onto this piece. So I add it and smear it with my finger and just go all around everything until I'm satisfied with how it's starting to look. And you can see that those cardboard pieces are starting to look a little more metal-like. But I just wanted to kind of get a metallic look all over the whole thing, so I just went around all of the papers too. So now I have a whole bunch of die cuts, some that I cut out of brown paper, that kind of rusty brown paper, and then I had some commercial die cuts like that little heart. And I'm showing you that I already applied the paint to that right side there, but what I'm using is Tattered Angels. It's a clamshell patina glaze, and it was actually part of a patina kit, was the glazing part of it, but it's a really deep, pretty, metallic, iridescent, almost turquoise color. And I'm mixing it with the bronze paint that I used before, just to get kind of a patinated look to all of these die cut pieces. So I just went through the cogs I cut on my Sidekick machine, just with a cog die that I had. I had 2 clocks that I had cut out, and I just cut pieces off of those. And then I cut that key out. And the heart, that like filigreed heart, was a piece that was purchased, already die cut. So just getting those all painted up and colored the way I want. Now I took some of that turquoise glaze and I'm just hitting the tops of the faux rivets just to kind of knock the shininess back a little bit. I didn't want them totally flat, so this iridescent paint helped that. And then I'm taking some more of that bronze colored paint and just kind of dry brushing over the cardboard squares again, just to get a little more variation in the color. So now I had a bag of metal cogs and wheels and that kind of thing. So I decided to add a little more dimension, and I'm going to stack some of those on top of the flat paper cogs that I had die cut. And then wherever there weren't paper die cut pieces, I just put the metal pieces by themselves on top of the cardboard squares. So just building another layer of dimension. And I'm using E6000. I just find that it grabs pretty quick when you're gluing metal, and it has a tendency to just stay stuck once it's dry. So just getting all of those down. The paper cogs that I cut out and the key and everything, that was from a piece of packaging material, that kind of rusty brown paper. And now I have just a little piece of an old PC board, I think came out of a telephone or something. And I colored that with that same paint, the mixture of the 2 paints. I'm putting a piece of that on here, just more industrial trash. And another little number 8. I think it's a Prima maybe, or Tim Holtz, one of the two. Little metal number. And I just decided I was going to put that on her hat. It was already that bronze color, so it was perfect. Didn't have to do anything to that one. I'm going to poke a couple holes in all the way through the cardboard and the substrate chipboard to the back, because I have a Tim Holtz tag, metal tag, that says Dream, and I'm just going to attach it to the top there with some little bronze colored brads. That was tough getting through those 2 layers of cardboard. That tool is something that my dad made. It's just a wooden handle. I think it has a nail on the end of it. I don't know what he used it for, but it comes in handy. So I have just the little tiny brads by Tim Holtz. And I'm just going to attach that band. And after everything's good and dry, I will back this piece with a piece of watercolor paper or some kind of a backing to make it look better. So everything is glued down, and I'm really liking this piece at this point, but it needs some more dimension, and my piece of chipboard is starting to curl a little bit, so you see me trying to coax it back the other way. It'll just end up under a couple of really heavy books and it will flatten back out. But there's kind of a close-up of where we are so far. Almost done. I just want to add a little more dimension to those flat paper pieces, because especially the key. The key just looks too flat. So I'm taking my Stabilo All pencil, and just on the right side of some of these elements, I'm just going to add some Stabilo. And I like to activate my Stabilo with fluid matte medium. That way it stabilizes the Stabilo so that if it gets wet or something, it's not going to run all over the place. Because the Stabilo pencil is and remains water reactive unless you stabilize it somehow. So I'm just going to use a small brush and some fluid matte medium to activate the pencil and get a shadow going down the right side of some of these elements, just to add a little more dimension, make it look a little more real. So wherever there would naturally be a shadow is where I'm going with the pencil. Bottom edges and the right side. Any place where the light would be casting a shadow. And it just adds a little realism to it. And I liked it so well, I just decided I'd go around some of these other paper pieces and down the sides of those cardboard pieces and give them a little more dimension as well. So I'm really glad that you joined me today. I hope that you will visit all of the other artists in this hop. If you go down to my description box, you'll see the list of everybody that's participating, and just click through from one to the next. Visit everybody, leave everybody a comment, give us thumbs up, and I hope you just really enjoy watching what everybody has in store for you. These hops are so much fun, and I want to thank Peg Robinson for the work she does to put these hops together. It takes a little coordination, and she does it well. So thanks, Peg. If you're not a subscriber to my channel, just go ahead and hit my red bell or my red button rather, and ring my bell so you're notified when I upload more videos. Thanks for watching, and in the meantime, go make some art. Bye.